Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grim Dawn. This is not my hardcore character. There's a couple of specific reasons for this. First off, I realized that with the absolute abysmal failure of Diablo Immortal, I realized that there are a lot of people out there who are in desperate and dire need of a really good ARPG. And frankly, Grim Dawn is, I think we can all agree, whether or not it's your favorite, it is one of the best ARPGs out there available. I think the only possible, like, legitimately equally good one, in my opinion, is Path of Exile, and that's a lot harder to get into because it's a lot more complicated than Grim Dawn is. So I think a lot of the Diablo Immortal players, should they really go searching for a ARPG, are going to come across and probably stick with this one, at least at first. With that being said, I would like, the kind of main reason I'm doing a new character, I will return to the hardcore one, but the reason why I wanted to do a new character was because a lot of these players will want a fun mastery combination that they can do a lot of damage with, customize their own way while maintaining a strong damage output, and I wanted to kind of present this mastery combination for that reason, for new coming players. The flood, I use that term loosely because I'm not sure how many people are actually going to go this path, but I'm sure some will. But the influx of new players will have something to look at and go, hey, yeah, this is my speed. And the reason why I'm focusing a little bit more on offense rather than the defense, which I originally presented as being better for beginners in my opinion, is because Diablo as a series generally tends to run a little bit more on the aggressive side. At least from my experience, I was a huge fan of Diablo 3 way back in the day, played a lot of that, and I just kind of feel like it's a faster paced. Well, I won't say faster paced because Grim Dawn is pretty fast paced normally. It's a fast paced ARPG. So I would like to present a mastery combination with strong offensive and defensive options that allows you to maintain a strong damage output, and the Occultist Arcanist combination, in my opinion, really hits all those marks and really allows you to customize what you want to use and what style of gameplay you want to play and maintain effectiveness. Regardless, you've got a ton of different options with this mastery, and it's just really overall a fantastic time. Now, for those of you who are new, I also am recommending this particular mastery combination for a second very specific reason. In this game, there are various factions, which compete and will actually fight if you let them, and they're in the same area also. But each type of enemy has resistances to certain damage types, which if you've played ARPGs, you probably know that. In Grim Dawn, the two primary factions are the Ethereals and the Chthonics. The Chthonics are resistant to... hold on. Let me take care of Bozo here and these lunatics over here before demonstrating. Get rid of these. Come on. There you go. And get rid of you really quick. There we go. The damage types are the three elements of fire, ice, lightning, poison, acid, piercing, chaos... Stun isn't really a damage type. Aether, Vitality, and Bleeding. Now, the two main factions, Ethereals are generally really resistant against Aether and the three elements. Chthonics are generally resistant to Vitality, Chaos, and to some extent Fire specifically. The Occultist primarily deals with Chaos and Vitality damage, along with some poison. When facing against Chthonic enemies, the Occultist has a really hard time dealing damage because most of the Occultist's damage output is rather severely resisted by the Chthonic faction. The same thing applies to the Arcanist class, which does Aether and Elemental damage. The Ethereal faction, by and large, heavily resists most of what the Arcanist brings to bear. By combining these two specific masteries, you have a damage answer to both factions, especially since they tend to be weak against the other. Ethereals tend to be weaker to Chaos and Vitality, whereas Chthonics tend to be weaker to Ethereal and Elemental damage. There are exceptions to this, But we're not going to worry about that in this episode. So that is a second reason I strongly recommend this specific combination. A third reason is you've probably noticed if you have picked up this game that there is DLC here for this game. There are 3 pieces of DLC, 4 if you count the Crucible. Is it 3 with the Crucible? It's 3 with the Crucible. No, it's 4 because the Inquisitor is technically a separate piece of DLC. The Inquisitor and Necromancer, if I remember correctly. Anyways, I'm rambling. There are 3 to 4 pieces of DLC for this game, and you may not necessarily have them. This mastery combination doesn't require anything more than the base game, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, I was talking about how very free form this combination can be. You have a lot of options, you have a lot of ways to customize your build, and this is 100% true, but in the early game, I really strongly encourage you to take Dreeg's Evil Eye. As you've probably figured out, it's a poison projectile, which is incredibly effective in the very early game. Later on, I will personally be swapping this out for something else, but if you're really fond of the poison acid damage that this presents, you are absolutely 100% free to keep it. It is one of the 2, technically 3, powerful projectiles that this combination has available to you. So, definitely recommend starting with this, because this ability alone will, for the early game, carry you quite well. You get to attack from a safe distance, it does a lot of damage, and it poisons enemies, which means even more damage while you're running around, either regenerating your energy as shown down here, or just trying not to die. You're free to do either because damage is still ticking away because of the poison. So overall, it's a very effective combination, a mastery combination, to be using overall. So we're just going to go ahead and wipe out some zombies. We're going to throw these boots on. Is this worth vitality versus cold? I don't do vitality damage yet. I'm just doing poison acid, and even then that wouldn't increase that. I don't do lightning damage, but the spirit increase is nice. The armor would be nice. We're going to go ahead and put some points here. Alright. Now, as for the stats, they're very simple. Physique primarily is your health, almost exclusively. Cunning gives you a little health, but primarily increases your physical damage types. This is regular physical, this is pierce, this is internal trauma. As well as I think bleeding is actually affected by this as well. It is. Your bleed as well. Your spirit increases your energy, your maximum energy, a little bit of health, and your quote-unquote magic damage. This is actually every other damage type outside of bleeding, pierce, and physical. So because my particular combination, Occultist and Arcanist, is very heavily reliant on... typically is very heavily reliant on Chaos and... or actually just magic damage types in general, I will be personally going for Spirit. But there are ways of building this relying more on Cunning. That is absolutely a thing you can do. I will talk about that a bit. In a couple of episodes at the very least. You don't need to worry about that this early on. Your stats aren't going to really get high enough, especially since my personal way of playing, as you've probably noticed, is to kind of sit on my attribute increases until I have a piece of equipment that I want to equip, and then I just increase the attributes accordingly. You'll notice that when I wanted to equip the belt, I put points into my physique, and I've left my 2 remaining available points just open in case I want to equip something else in the future. This is generally how I approach increasing my stats. It's just a little easier to be able to adjust your equipment on the fly, which is something I really appreciate. I'm a big fan of what is known as improv play, where you don't really go into this with a set plan. I have a rough improv. This is roughly improvised. I knew ahead of time I wanted to be an Arcanist and an Occultist, but I wasn't 100% sure what build I would wind up going for by the end of the game. This is my favorite way of playing. This is not what a lot of members of the Grim Dawn community recommend. A lot of them recommend you pre-plan your build. However, as new players, you aren't going to have all of the knowledge to do that, and personally, I find improv more fun anyways, so it's my go-to method of playing Grim Dawn. I don't like to pre-plan my builds, and you can actually see the one downside of using Dreeg's Evil Eye here. Alright, now there's a really neat trick you can use here. At any time, you can summon your Rift, which is down here. You can just pop in that. We're going to go to Devil's Crossing, and then we're going to Rift back. This is a neat little hack you can do if you're having trouble with a boss that summons minions like Kizog here. Oh, I didn't wait long enough. But you can just chill out here. Maybe you want to purchase some potions. I'm actually going to take this opportunity to sell these items that I don't particularly care about. Superior Barrel X Bloody Arm isn't going to be too useful to me in the near future. This will potentially be useful in the near future, so we're going to keep that on hand. And I think enough time has passed where probably the zombies have died. But there are a couple of exceptions to this, but generally speaking, if you're having a hard time with a boss that summons enemies, you can just rift out, wait less than 3 minutes in most cases, and they're all gone. I don't know why I somehow accidentally clicked that. Okay. Now, I could do that again for these guys, but he's close enough to dead that I don't really need to. There we go. Grab this. Is this jacket? Oh, you were not a summon. Okay. I thought you were. Silly me. Okay, that's actually worthwhile. We have the Arcanist's Kizog Skull. That's actually great. That's a great drop. I got really lucky with that. I want that in my hands. Again, notice I just increased the spirit to the point where I could slap this on. I'll take that, but I don't intend on using it right now. Now, I personally think I'm primarily going to lean on an offhand. Now, you might be wondering, what is the difference between a single-hand weapon and an offhand versus a, say for example, a two-handed weapon, right? You might be wondering what that difference is. Well, there's two important differences to know about. Single-hand weapons obviously attack faster. You can probably guess that. Offhands, if you're unfamiliar with ARPGs, they generally tend to increase your ability damage type. For example, notice this is a percentage increase to fire damage and aether damage. All of my aether and fire damage abilities would really do a lot more. There are some weapons that do fire and aether damage. Most of these are legendary, but not all of them. How do I want to run this? I think I know how I want to run this. I'll talk about that in a second. Anyways, anything that generally increases damage types by percentage is generally going to be a little better for, anything that increases anything that does fire and aether damage is going to be increased. Again, most weapons don't tend to do that. There are some. I will, in a future episode, when I have a great opportunity to do so, I will show you what those weapons look like. But most weapons do physical, so a lot of offhands, which increase magical damage types in 90% of cases, they're much better for non-weapon damage. Now we're just going to finish this up. We're not going to pay attention to any of these other ones. At least not for now. We'll wait on that. And then we're just going to go ahead and rift back. Now I'm going to, before I conclude this episode, this opening episode, I'm going to show you a neat little early game life hack. First off, actually, I also want to address something else. There is a popular strategy in which if you... No, that's not what I wanted to do. You can... There is a book that spawns up here, and usually it'll spawn close enough. I don't think it's spawned close enough for me here. No, it is not. There's a book that you can theoretically grab through a glitch that allows you to grab that. I recommend against this. Oh, there it is. Hold on. Yeah, it's right here. I could run over. I could just climb right up here and grab that. You can too. Some people do this. I recommend against it. The higher your level, the less experience you will get from enemies of a significantly lower level. Let me see if I can grab an example. Okay, see how this Rift Scourge has a blue number. This blue number of their level means that I would be getting a decreased amount of experience from this Rift Scourge. We're going to kill him. You can see it barely down in the yellow bar at the bottom below my level there. You probably noticed this. You probably already figured out its experience. You can see there's very little change. Now, this is a green number. Green number means I will generally get an average amount of experience for that kill. This yellow number there means I'll get... See how the 6 and the 7 are yellow? That means I'll get a slightly higher than average amount because they are a higher level than me. this is actually what I really recommend you do. Early game in Grim Dawn. Come here first. There's a second specific reason that you would want to come here first, besides the bonus experience from wiping out all of these slightly higher level Slith at this point. I think they max out at like 7 or 10 here. It depends on what level you enter the area at. Oh, that's pretty good. That'll become more useful in the very near future. You'll see what I mean in a minute. That was useless. Notice again that I can take these guys out from a nice safe distance. You'll notice also now that they're a high enough level that I am starting to see a bit of splash damage going on there. We'll talk about the Slith necklaces in a future episode. Grab them if you see them, but don't worry about them. You only need 3. That's not something I'll need, but I'll equip it anyways. Now, this is the real secret. This early in the game, the bonus experience you'll get from reading this journal is quite helpful for giving you a little bit of an early start, especially if you're new to the game, and that little bit of a boost can really help you out. That's actually nice. I mean, I don't really need much cunning at this point in the game, but I'll take what I can get. Behold the glory of Dreek's evil eye. Fantastic. And just calmly. Also notice that you can shoot projectiles out of the air. Oh, that's a really nice ring. There's a lot of... Nope, that's not the one. Nice. Okay. And then I had... Nope, those shoes are useless to me. I had this. That's right. Still better than what I had before. Don't get rid of the salt bag. You might be tempted to. Just put it in storage. I'll tell you what that is in a second. Okay. Did I get my 3? Did I get my 3? Okay. Excellent. I do. I already have my 3, so I actually have 4. I accidentally picked up a 4th one, but that's fine. That's a really nice, handy little thing. Again, I'll talk about those in a future episode. We don't need to worry about that now. Oh, that's actually nice. We actually do acid damage, so we're going to go ahead and swap that out for the... Oh, that's a cunning and spirit. We'll go ahead and replace that. What the heck? I'll actually get rid of this. I don't need it. We'll drop this. We'll drop this. This kind of equipment is... you can sell it if you want. I very rarely find that sells for well enough to even be worth it even at this point in the game. I generally sell greener up. You'll see those in a bit. So don't worry about it. And then we're just going to go ahead and head back. You can either go back over the boat or you can rift. Doesn't really make a difference. And now we're going to go ahead and report in these quests. Hopefully, but I doubt it will hit level 7. Alright. That's fine. Okay, we have 5 pieces of scrap, which is excellent. Put this here. Now... Sael's Witchfire is not a regular ability that you fire off like this. It is an aura. If you don't know what an aura is, it takes away a certain amount of your maximum energy and just constantly stays on, which is handy. But you have to be careful that you don't use so many of these that you have no energy at all for those of you who do want to use activatable abilities. Now, this is where you can start to really play around with your build, actually, is when you have access to this. You could just rush to this, but honestly, I wouldn't recommend rushing to this until you've wiped out Kizog, because, again, the eyeballs are just so handy for that. It's after you deal with Kizog, you can respec if you want. We're going to talk about that in another hot second here. And, waltz over here, and here we are. She will respec your points. If you want to pull points out of something, you can do that. I'm not going to yet, but I will be doing that in the near future, probably next episode. This is where you store stuff. This is your regular storage. This is your transfer storage if you want to transfer things between characters. That's about really... Oh, I want to store my salt bag, actually. Put that in there. I also tend to put my crafting materials... Oops, that's not a crafting material. In here... If you ever want to separate something out, maybe you're playing with friends, control-click. Pull this one out. I only need 3 of these. That 4th Slith necklace does me no good. Grab the quests. And we're going to go ahead and... I might actually... What I'm going to do is just run out into the wilds here really quick and just kill a zombie or 2 so I can hit level 8. Zombies. Are there zombies here? No, not today. Okay. Are there zombies in here? Hello? Oh, that's nonsense. Hello? Yes. Okay, they're so below my level that I didn't... There we go. Yeah, back off. Alright. Now you'll see that, you know, we're getting vitality damage increase and attack speed increase. What the beans? Now, before I end the episode, I do want to talk about where you can really start to see some diversity here. Now, I think is a good time to talk about it. We've killed Kizogs. Kizogs? We've killed Kizog with the Dreeg's Evil Eye, so that's fine. If you want to take this out, you absolutely can. But if you want to do really heavy spellcaster and you like the poison damage, absolutely keep this. If you want to do pets with summoning, you can go for the crow. Actually, I might really quickly just respec an individual point so you can see the crow, and I can talk about pets a little bit for you. Just a quick conversation about pets in case you want to go with that. And here we are. And we'll just go ahead and slap this here. And you just have this around. You can set it to aggressive, defensive, or normal. I've never seen a situation in which there is situations in which disbanding your pet is a valid option, but it's very rare. And we'll talk about that later. Much later. It's almost never a problem, though. But the crow just shoots lightning balls that damage enemies, obviously. It's a great time. Your pets can die in most cases. There are exceptions, but generally they all kick. When you... Besides putting points in your pets, you can also increase them through equipment. Let's see if I can pull up something good here. This is some later game equipment. Some of it's end game, some of it is not. Actually, most of it isn't, to be honest. Do you have anything that increases pets? So I can give an example. Yes. See, the Mythical Blade Shard Amulet, on the top, it has the increases to your stats, and then we have bonus to all pets. All of your pets, regardless of where they come from, gain these benefits, including, as you'll notice, the pet that this item itself allows you to summon. You can summon a Bladed Rift Scourge as long as you hold this item. Right? As long as you have this equipped. So that's generally how pet increases work. You can put more points. The crow heals you, and he increases your elemental damage. It actually works really well with the Arcanist, which is another reason why the Arcanist Occultist combination is so good. The crow is absolutely amazing with the Arcanist, just because of this aura that it gets here. Also, because it can heal you, it's a great defensive option as well at the same time. It's a really wonderful pet. And if you want to use that, absolutely go for it. The Slayer's Witchfire, as you've probably figured out, increases... Hold on, let me actually get rid of the crow, because I do not have any intention of using pets in this run, at least for now. Pull that out. Put that back in. And we'll go on ahead, and I want to demonstrate to you the kind of difference Slayer's Witchfire can make. Behold my regular attacks. Between 20 and 30, except for the crits, which are reaching 30, 40 plus. And then we put Slayer's Witchfire on. 60 damage, 50 damage, 50 odd damage. You can see a difference here. This is increasing my regular attack damage. And if you wanted to use two-handed weapons, this is probably the way you would want to go. If you don't want to be a caster, you really want to do that heavy regular attack damage, this is generally where you're going to go with it. I'll talk more about variation as the Arcanist rolls along, but there is more conversation to be had here. Curse of Frailty just decreases resistances, as you can see, physical and bleeding. I'll talk a bit more about resistances over the next few episodes, but these are the Constellations. You can have 55 of these. You get these through shrines. I'll be talking a lot about these as I go through them. I'm not going to spend a ton of time here, but I will point out that the crossroads of red and the crossroads of yellow are a 5% health increase. So whether or not you decide to stick with these, even if you keep these, that is a percentage-based increase, so that will actually scale decently well with you into the late game. The rest of these, the green, the purple, and the blue, because they're a flat increase, they don't scale quite as well into the late game or even the mid game. So if you are going to start, I do recommend starting with red at the very least, because you have a great little variety of constellations that I'll talk about in the next episode that give you some good boosts to your combination of Occultist Arcanist if you're following Occultist Arcanist. And even if you aren't, you can at the very least get a general idea of why I'm making these choices for this in general. But I hope you enjoyed this. If you're new, if you're returning, I'm going to be playing around with this build a little bit. If you have some kind of suggestion, I'll also be doing some very specific tests with this build that one of them is involving Alexa's Flash Freeze. But I'll detail that more once I get Frozen Core. Then I'll really talk about what I'm looking for there. But otherwise, thank you all very much for joining me. If you liked this, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, please ignore me. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, suggestions, or requests, please leave them down in the comment section below. And thank you all very much for joining me. Have a great 24 hours.